Welcome back to Sips and Simulations. This is the Week 2 recap, where we are going through all the highlights of all of the non-primetime games this week. If your team had a primetime game, you can go check out their episode with the cocktail and the full breakdown. But this is just the highlights. We've got 12 games to get through, so without further ado, let's crack into it. All right, we're starting off this Week 2 recap with the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Cincinnati Bengals. And on the very first play of the game, Trevor Lawrence fumbles the ball, Bengals get the ball with incredible field position, and on the very next play, they follow that up with a T. Higgins 22-yard touchdown, putting them on the board in a whopping 13 seconds. Now, the Jags' next drive goes a bit better than that, with Brenton Strange hauling in this 8-yard touchdown to tie the game back up. The offensive fireworks continue for the Bengals, with Chase Brown putting a receiving touchdown on the stat sheet. Bengals defense heard everybody talking shit about them in the offseason, and then picks off Trevor Lawrence on the Jags' first play of the next drive. However, this time, the Jags come up with a third down sack to force a Bengals field goal. The Jaguars get within scoring position, but the Bengals defense gets another interception. This time, the offense doesn't do anything with it. Later on, T. Higgins adds another touchdown on this beautiful deep ball, putting the Bengals up 24-7 at the half. A big third down sack from the Bengals defense holds the Jaguars to a field goal, making this a 2-score game. Then, on this huge fourth down, a 27-yard touchdown to Parker Washington cuts it to a 1-score game. The Jags decide to go for the 2-point conversion here and make it with a completion to Johnny Munt, cutting the deficit all the way down to 6. However, the Bengals offense would get the ball and never give it back to the Jaguars, running out the rest of the clock on way to a 24-18 victory. The Monte Carlo simulation also predicts a Bengals victory, this time 22-19. Next up, we've got an NFC East matchup, with the Dallas Cowboys taking on the New York Giants. Dallas rolls the dice on fourth down, and it pays off with a Javonte Williams receiving touchdown. Now, this sim was run before the Micah Parsons trade, but hey, at least Deron Bland is still in Dallas as he picks off Russell Wilson. The Cowboys are stopped short on that drive, and facing 4th and 1 again, elect to kick the field goal. Dallas and New York both tack on additional field goals, making this a 13-3 game at the half. Giants defense comes up big on this third down with a 7-yard sack, forcing yet another Dallas field goal. Then, on the first play of the fourth quarter, Giants finally score a touchdown thanks to none other than Malik Nabers. With just over 3 minutes remaining in the game, CeeDee Lamb is dragged down just shy of the end zone. However, one play later, Dak QB sneaks this right over the goal line, making this a 2-score game again. Dallas tries a 2-point conversion to go up a clean 14, but they're stopped well short. From here, the Giants offense just lit up, with a 53-yard bullet to Wan'Dale Robinson, then immediately followed up with a 23-yard completion down to the 2-yard line with 2 minutes left. 2 plays later, Russ scrambles in to make this a 1-score game again. With a minute left, a poorly hit onside kick results in the Deshaun Watson penalty for the Giants. However, their defense holds Dallas to a field goal, keeping this game barely within reach. Unfortunately for them, the Giants offense is unable to pull off the comeback, and the Cowboys get a win for the home crowd, 25-17. The Monte Carlo simulation also favors the Cowboys, with a final prediction of 20-18. Continuing with the divisional matchups, we move to the NFC North for Bears-Lions. Now, both of these supposedly high-powered offenses got off to really slow starts, with the Bears getting on the board first with a field goal at the end of the third quarter. With 3 minutes left in the half, a strike from Goff to Waymo puts the Lions in the lead. The Lions defense forces the Bears to punt, and a 25-yard catch by Laporta sets up the Lions for a 30-yard field goal with 5 seconds left, which Jake Bates makes with ease, putting the Lions up 10-3 at the half. In an almost exact replay of the Jameson Williams touchdown against the Bears last year, Goff finds him outrunning the Bears secondary for a 76-yard touchdown to open the second half. Madden seems to really enjoy using running backs as downfield receiving threats, as Gibbs hauls in a 35-yard touchdown in the back corner of the end zone, putting the Lions up 24-3. It takes until the end of the third quarter, but the Bears finally strike back with a 36-yard Luther Burden touchdown. With 3.5 minutes left, the Lions' 4th and 1 attempt from the 1-yard line gets stuffed, keeping Chicago just barely in this game. Perhaps as vengeance for that pun, the Bears then drive 99 yards, finally finding DJ Moore in the end zone on this huge 4th and 10. Chicago goes for the 2-point conversion, and DeAndre Swift makes it in untouched to cut the deficit to 6. With less than a minute remaining, the onside kick attempt is recovered by the Lions, who then kneel out the rest of the clock, securing a home win 24-18. The Monte Carlo simulation is in near perfect agreement, settling on a 23-16 Lions victory. Rams at Titans. Titans facing a third down from the 26-yard line. This deep fade fails to convert, leading the Titans to kick the field goal to get on the board first. After an uneventful first quarter, the second quarter kicks off with the Rams picking off Cam Ward, setting them up with great field position. The Rams pay that off as Kyren Williams breaks a tackle before turning on the Jets for a 12-yard rushing touchdown. The Rams manage to tack on a field goal just before the clock runs out, putting them up 10-3 at the half. In their opening second half drive, Matt Stafford finds Devontae Adams for a Rams touchdown, putting them up 2 scores. At the end of the third quarter, Jeffrey Simmons reads this screen like a book, breaking up the pass and forcing the Rams to settle for a field goal. With just under 4 minutes remaining in this game, the Titans finally score their first touchdown on a 12-yard Cam Ward scramble. Needing it to stay alive, the Titans go for an onside kick, which the Rams recover without any difficulty. On the other side of the 2-minute warning, this Kyren Williams rushing touchdown ices the game, securing a 27-10 win for the Rams. The Monte Carlo sim also believes in a Rams victory, but by a smaller margin, 18-16. Back to the divisional matchups, this time the AFC East, Patriots versus Dolphins. Halfway through the first quarter, the Patriots strike first on a short touchdown to Hunter Henry. Now, Devon Achane was really powering the Dolphins' offense this game. He's dragged down just shy of the goal line on this play, so of course, the very next play, they give the ball right back to him, letting him punch it in the middle to tie the game up. At the 2-minute warning, this pass to Pop Douglas is broken up, leading the Pats to kick the field goal, taking a 10-7 lead at the half. New England's offense continued to move the ball well in the second half, but this Madden-ass throw ends their first drive of the second half with an end zone pick. The ensuing Dolphins possession makes it all the way down to the 1-yard line, but a heroic defensive stand from the Patriots holds them to a field goal. From here, both offenses would just kind of stall out until a last-minute strike to Tyreek Hill puts the Dolphins in field goal position. From there, they would inch a bit closer with a few safe runs before eventually hitting the game-winning field goal with 2 seconds left. The Monte Carlo sim also agrees with this being a close game, predicting an 18-18 tie. San Francisco versus New Orleans. A very methodical opening drive from the 49ers, capping it off with a George Kittle touchdown. The Saints just couldn't get their offense off the ground. Meanwhile, this one-legged throw from Purdy to Ricky Pearsall goes for 74 yards, putting the 49ers up 14-0. Later in the quarter, the 49ers add a third unanswered score on a CMC rushing TD, making it 21-0 at the half. In the second half, the Saints D finally get a stop on a screen to CMC, but the 49ers still come out of it with a field goal. At the end of the third quarter, Saints finally get on the board with a field goal, making it a manageable 21-point game. Jokes aside, this seems to have actually woken up the Saints, as they force a 3-and-out and then score on a 4th down Spencer Rattler scramble. Saints still down 2 scores, they go for the onside kick, which is recovered by Juszczyk. However, on the very next play, he gets the ball and fumbles it right back to the Saints, making this effectively just a successful onside kick recovery. One 33-yard catch by Shaheed later, the Saints are back in the end zone, which Rattler pays off with another rushing TD, making it a 1-score game with just under 3 minutes left. The Saints go for the 2-point conversion, but Kamara is stuffed in the backfield, 8-point game. Another 49ers 3-and-out plus another great Saints drive puts them at the 5-yard line, where Rattler finds Brandon Cooks coming across the front of the end zone. The 2-point conversion to Taysom Hill on the out route is good, and we somehow have a tied game. With 2 seconds left and needing a miracle, 49ers find it in some classic Madden cheese, the Hail Mary defensive pass interference. This gives them the ball at the 4-yard line and an untimed down, where they easily hit the game-salvaging field goal and escape New Orleans with a 27-24 win. The Monte Carlo simulation doesn't think it'll be that close or dramatic, predicting a 20-14 San Fran victory. We've had half of the AFC East, time for the second half, Bills at Jets. On the very first play, Josh Allen is up to his old picks, giving the Jets the ball. However, the Jets go for it on 4th down and come up short, so no harm, no foul. Now that that's out of his system, Allen and the Bills marched down the field, opening the scoring with a James Cook rushing touchdown. The Jets' first proper drive stalls out at the 30-yard line, but they kick the field goal to get on the board. Back to Buffalo, they add another James Cook rushing touchdown, making this a 2-score game. Feeling left out, the Jets give the ball to Breece Hall, who bounces his run all the way outside for the Jets' first touchdown of the game. With 4 seconds left, looking like it'll be 14-10 at the half, but Breece Hall has a huge hole, makes a man miss, then outruns the rest of the secondary for a 93-yard rushing touchdown, putting the Jets in the lead 17-10 at the half. Buffalo decides to go for it on 4th and 2 instead of kicking the tying field goal, and an ill-advised throw falls incomplete, leaving the Jets still in the lead. No matter though, the Jets offense fails to capitalize, and Buffalo's next drive makes it to the 33-yard line, where this time they elect to kick the tying field goal. The Jets burn clock on their next drive, making it all the way to the 7-yard line with a minute and a half left, where Breece Hall punches it in to put the Jets up 7. On a crucial 4th down, Brandon Stephens elevates for this interception, letting the Jets kneel out the rest of the clock, securing the divisional win at home, 24-17. The Monte Carlo sim actually views these teams as roughly equal, predicting a 17-17 tie. Steelers vs. Seahawks, DK Metcalf's first game against his old team. On the Steelers' opening drive, the pass intended for DK is broken up, and the Steelers get on the board first with a field goal. Now, I'm not sure what the intention was behind this play, but it's absolutely blown up, and Steelers recover the fumble at the 36-yard line. From there, they make it all the way to the 7-yard line, but DK's out route is short of the end zone. Steelers settle for another field goal. An incompletion on this corner route means yet another Pittsburgh field goal, because touchdowns are cringe, I guess. With 14 seconds left in the second quarter, Seahawks finally remember what the fucking offense is, as Darnold hits rookie tight end Elijah Arroyo on the hitch, who breaks 2 tackles for a touchdown, making it 9-7 at the half. After figuring out that scoring points is good actually, Seahawks' first drive of the half makes it all the way to the 13-yard line, where Sam Darnold barely avoids a TJ Watt sack, and Seahawks get in on the field goal fun, taking their first lead of the game. Steelers attempt to add a 4th field goal, but football gods say no more until you score a TD, and it sails wide right. Seahawks move the ball well and set up a screen to K9, but Cam Hayward slams the ball free, and the Steelers recover the fumble. Now, this game hates offense, but at least we get the ultimate defensive treat, a safety, Seahawks up 12-9. There's so much defense in this game, I honestly thought I was watching an Iowa game at points. A little cross screen to K9 falls short of the sticks, Seattle tacks on another field goal. And despite making it to the red zone, it turns out the Steelers literally could not score a touchdown if the game depended on it. Seahawks win 15-9. I hope for anybody watching that this game ends up more like the Monte Carlo prediction, a 20-16 Seahawks victory. Our final divisional matchup of the week and first late afternoon game, Browns vs. Ravens. The Browns opened this game with a shockingly competent performance, with a 40-yard kickoff return, which is then immediately followed by a 30-yard pass to Jerry Jeudy. However, their drive would eventually stall out, causing them to settle for a field goal. But the Ravens offense goes 3 and out while the Browns continue to click, gifting us with a QB read and a Joe Flacco rushing TD in the year of our Lord 2025? Ravens seem to have taken that personally, as they march all the way to the Browns' 1-yard line and then hand it off to the fullback for their first touchdown. On a Browns 4th and 3 from the 17-yard line, Jerome Ford gets outside the defense and takes it in for a TD. Then at the 2-minute warning, no way Lamar was going to let Joe have the only quarterback rushing touchdown this game, takes off and fights through defenders to put this game within 3. However, the Ravens defense plays super passively, letting the Browns march down the field and add another field goal, putting them up 20-14 at the half. Both defenses just completely locked it down in the second half, which brings us to the Ravens' final drive. With just over a minute left, a huge 4th down completion to Mark Andrews to keep the drive alive. With 20 seconds left, Mark Andrews breaks a tackle and gets out of bounds, picking up 15 yards and stopping the clock. And Browns fans, it's time to hit the bottle. 15 seconds left, Lamar finds Zay Flowers for the game-winning touchdown. Stefanski tries to ice the extra point, but to no avail. Ravens pull it out 21-20. Despite the massive differences in QB quality between these teams, the Monte Carlo sim actually agrees that this will be close, predicting a 19-19 tie. Call this a pretty derby, cause we got horses battling, Broncos versus Colts. Bo Nix seems to be coming for Danny Jones' Vanilla Vic title, starting Denver's drive off with a 26-yard rush. At the end of the first quarter, the Colts finally open the scoring with a field goal. Speaking of, apparently the end of quarters is the only time you're allowed to score in this game, as the Broncos take the lead on a J.K. Dobbins touchdown, putting them up 7-3 at the half. However, the defenses finally crack a little in the second half, allowing a huge 64-yard Marvin Mims touchdown. A Bover throw at the beginning of the fourth quarter ends this drive for the Broncos, leading them to kick the field goal to go up 17-3. Halfway through the fourth, the Colts finally find the end zone on a Daniel Jones scramble. See, apparently the key is just to have Dan Jones run the ball instead of throwing it, as they cap their next drive off with a Jonathan Taylor touchdown to tie the game with just under 2 minutes left. While looking to ice this game, disaster strikes on the Broncos' ensuing possession as Mims fumbles the ball. Colts recover it with excellent field position. With 30 seconds left, the go-ahead touchdown for the Colts comes courtesy of Alec Pierce, and they hold on to that lead, 24-17 final score. Like most people, the Monte Carlo sim actually slightly favors the Broncos in this matchup, predicting a 17-16 Denver victory. Cards versus Panthers. Cardinals get on the board first with a 20-yard bullet from Kyler to Zay Jones. The Panthers answer back on the second play of the second quarter, tying the game at 7 apiece. Later in the half, Bryce Young takes off scrambling and gets absolutely slammed before he can reach the first down. Panthers settle for a field goal. With a minute left in the second half, we see what might be the craziest safety yet. As Bryce gets backed up in the pocket, strip sacked, the ball bounces into the end zone where it's recovered by his lineman for a safety, making this a 9-10 game at the half. Halfway through the third quarter, this 19-yard dart to Michael Wilson puts the Cards back in the lead. They decide to go for 2, but a big Panthers sack keeps this a 5-point game. The Panthers' ensuing possession stalls out and they attempt a 50-yarder, which sails wide left for once. Halfway through the fourth quarter, Bryce Young scampers out of trouble, picking up 33 yards and sliding just shy of the end zone. From there, the Panthers fail to punch it in, eventually being sacked on fourth down, keeping the deficit at 5. With the ball back in their possession, the Cards chew clock down to the 2-minute warning, and despite their drive stalling out at the 15-yard line, they kick the field goal to make this an 8-point game. Now, the recording for this game cut out early, but that's actually fine because nothing else interesting happened. Cards win 18-10. The Monte Carlo sim agrees that Arizona is the favorite, predicting a 21-18 Cards victory. Finally, we cap this off with a Super Bowl rematch. How this game isn't a primetime game, I have no idea. This game was non-stop offensive fireworks, starting with a 38-yard dime to A.J. Brown in the back of the end zone. The Chiefs answer this score on their possession, barely catching the pylon to punch it in. On the first play of the second quarter, there's no stopping Saquon. Eagles back in the lead. Like a mirror image, the Chiefs decide to hand it off to Pacheco, who punches it in for their touchdown. On the very first play of the Eagles' next possession, A.J. Brown completely busts the Chiefs' coverage, 75-yard touchdown. With a minute and a half left in the second quarter, Kelsey catches a short pass across the middle and pinballs in to tie it up. You know, the Eagles say that last play to AJ was so good, what if we just did it again and add another 74-yard receiving touchdown, putting them up 28-21 at the half? However, Chiefs get the ball first in the second half. First and goal from the 7, it's Kelsey again scoring to tie it up. Next Eagles possession, Jalen Hurts decides his arm is, kind of tired from throwing so many touchdowns, so he keeps the QB read and runs it in for the score. First and goal from the 7 again for the Chiefs. This time, it's a screen to Pacheco for a touchdown, which he carries in. Chiefs D actually gets a stop and forces an Eagles punt for once, which lets Mahomes find Kelsey for a third time this game to give the Chiefs the lead for the very first time, 42-35. Hurts' legs are all nice and warmed up now from that earlier touchdown, so he runs this QB read in again for a 29-yard rushing TD. With a minute and a half left in the game, a huge Eagles interception sets them up to win this. However, the Madden AI doesn't really know situational football, so Saquon punches this in for a touchdown with 80 seconds left on the clock and 2 Chiefs timeouts left. Thankfully for the Eagles, that knife cuts both ways and the Chiefs fail to score, eating a 42-49 loss at home. The Monte Carlo sim also favors the Eagles, but predicts a much more low-key 21-15 Philly victory. So there we have it, week 2 in the books, and we're starting to see which teams are stringing together wins and which teams just can't seem to get out of their own way. Starting with the NFC this week, we see there's one undefeated team in all 4 divisions, with the Packers, Eagles, Seahawks, and Falcons sitting alone atop their respective divisions. With that massive offensive shootout, the Eagles now also have the most points per game and the largest margin of victory so far. In stark contrast, the Seahawks are letting their defense carry them, as they've only put up 36 points in their 2 wins. Over in the AFC, we have the normal division, the AFC North, where the Ravens and Bengals proudly stand above the Browns and Steelers. Then we have the special division, the AFC East, where Buffalo is somehow 0-2 and the Jets and Dolphins are proudly undefeated. Meanwhile, the entire AFC West is chilling at 500, and the AFC South is being the AFC South. This is almost certainly going to be the last of these weekly recap videos that I'll do for this season. It's just too heavy of a lift for what it's worth. However, I will still be simulating all of these games and tracking the standings. Instead of all the non-primetime games getting their own highlight video, I'll just add a short little weekly standings recap to the Monday night game video each week, maybe a community post as well. I hope you've enjoyed, and I hope you'll join me in week 3 of the Sips and Simulation season. Stay curious, stay thirsty, and I'll see you next time.